A British woman who tortured an 18-year-old to death so she could tick murder off her bucket list has been jailed for life. Jemma Lilley, 26, strangled 18-year-old Aaron Pajich, who had Asperger's syndrome, with a wire until it broke and stabbed him 3 times before burying him in a shallow grave in her garden. Lilley and her accomplice Trudi Lenon were found guilty of murdering the vulnerable teenager at the Supreme Court of Western Australia in November. On Wednesday, the pair were sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 28 years. Jemma Lilley, 26, strangled Aaron Pajich with a wire until it broke. Victim Aaron Pajich, 18, was strangled and stabbed 3 times. Lilley's housemate, Trudi Lenon, 43, was also found guilty by a jury last month. Chilling images emerged showing inside the pair's home, a macabre dwelling decorated with horror film memorabilia which the pair dubbed Elm Street. Police pictures show a knife set, complete with bone saw, one of which may have been used to stab Mr. Pajich. Pictures show a doll of sadistic villain Chucky brandishing a steak knife. Image, Supreme Court. Meat appears to be dissolving in a pot. Image, Supreme Court. A sinister-looking jester Lilley said she wanted as a tattoo. Image, Supreme Court. Lilley has been jailed for life. Other images show the lounge, which Lilley used as a bedroom, decorated with horror film posters and a doll of sadistic villain Chucky brandishing a steak knife. A square of carpet can be seen missing from the floor, which could have been removed to hide evidence of where Mr. Pajich was killed. Another photo shows what has been described as a secret room with walls covered in blue tarpaulins, featuring a small trolley with human hair attached and possible blood stains. Lilley, who denied the killing, told the jury she was renovating the space to be a tattoo parlor. She intended to paint a sinister jester on the studio's ceiling and told a work colleague she would have the same image tattooed on her as symbol of the killing, she said. Police found dozens of knives and scalpels inside the house. Image, Supreme Court. Lilley's room was missing a section of carpet which police believed had blood on it. Image, Supreme Court. Detectives also found in the garage a pot which looked like it contained meat submerged in acid. A court heard that Lilley had said she wanted to kill someone before she turned 25 and was so euphoric after murdering Mr. Pajich that she boasted to a supermarket colleague, a court heard. Lilley's stepmom has told how she was frightening and sinister even as a child, and was obsessed with serial killers and murder. Before the murder, Lilley had written a violent novel, with one passage reportedly reading, "I feel I can't rest until the blood of a fresh, screaming, bleeding victim is gushing out and pooling on the floor." The draft was about a woman whose life's ambition was to murder someone. The victim was buried in the garden under concrete and tiles. Image, Supreme Court. Police found hair and possible bloodstains in a concealed room. Image, Supreme Court. The scene where Aaron Pajich's body was found. Image, Perth. Now, her stepmom Nina, of Stamford, Links, has revealed how she always felt on edge with Lilley and was disturbed by the novel. She said Lilley would talk about the main character, a serial killer called SOS, or Son of Sam, the nickname of David Berkowitz, who gunned down 6 people in New York during a terrifying murder spree in the 1970s, and quote from the novel. Lilley's ambition was to be a horror writer. Nina told The Sun, the book she wrote was a big problem. It was called Play Zone, about this character SOS, and I found it very disturbing. At the beginning I said, fair enough, you want to write a horror story, but I didn't like the contents of it. It was all about torture and very violent and no empathy for the victims. Lenon had a tattoo reading, SOS, Lilley's alias. Image, Supreme Court. Jemma Lilley, right, and her housemate Trudi Lenon, left, murdered 18-year-old Aaron Pajich in Western Australia. Image, Ann Barnettson, she always had an obsession with serial killers as a teenager, but she said it was a way of venting her frustration. Lilley went on to assume the identity of the character and was even referred to as SOS by her accomplice, the Supreme Court of Western Australia was told. Nina, who has split from Lilley's father Richard, 67, claimed that he made his daughter a terrifying black mask similar to the one worn by SOS in her book. Nina said she left the family home because she was so disturbed by Lilley's behavior, describing her as a psychopath and deranged, which seemed to worsen before she left the UK. Lilley and housemate Lenon, 43, were both convicted of murdering trusting and vulnerable Mr. Pajich at their home in Perth, Australia, after a jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. The Brit had moved to Perth from Lincolnshire 6 years ago, married an Australian, Gordon Galbraith, and nicknamed him Gussie, after serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who raped and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men in the 1970s. The victim's mum, Sharon Pajich, is accompanied to court to hear the verdict. Image, Perth Now. CCTV shows Lenon pushing a trolley loaded with hydrochloric acid as Lilley stands at the counter. Image, Supreme Court. She had previously studied as a gaming design student at Casterton Business and Enterprise College in Rutland, East Midlands. The court heard that she had thoughts of being a serial killer since she was a teenager and was fixated by sharp knives. Prosecutor James McTaggart told the court during the 5-week trial that once the Brit had ticked off murder from her bucket list, she was so of herself and euphoric that she could not help boasting to a colleague. The victim, described by his mother as a precious little boy, was a friend of Lennon's teenage son, and was lured to his death on June 13 last year, with both defendants blaming each other for the killing. Lenon, whose children lived with her in the home, claimed Lilley approached the teenager from behind as he installed games on her computer, garroted him until the wire broke, then stabbed him 3 times. The prosecution said Lilley left incriminating messages to her obsequious and sycophantic follower Lenon hours after the killing, saying she was feeling things she had not felt before. The victim's mum, Sharon Pajich, speaks outside court after the verdict. Image, Perth Now. Before the murder, Lenon had texted, "The first time it will be very controlled. Brutal, and SOS will be totally entranced by it." The court heard Lenon was active in the local BDSM scene and was known to Lilley as Corvina, a name she assumed in her bondage and submissive sessions, news.com.au reported. Mr. McTaggart told the court, at the time of the murder, Lilley was a person obsessed with violence and all kinds of unquestionably cruel manifestations of torture and was writing about it. Jurors heard that the pair had meticulously planned the murder, buying cleaning products, concrete and 100 liters of hydrochloric acid to dispose of the body. Police found a list of torture methods, dozens of knives and scalpels, a bone saw and a freshly cut section of carpet, where Mr. Pajich had bled, inside the home. The court heard that officers found a concealed and sealed room, and had to sledgehammer the lock off the door. Police found a shopping trolley cut down to its base, with what appeared to be human hair around one of the wheels, and possible blood stains. 3 of the walls were covered in blue tarpaulins and windows were covered in black plastic. Lilley's father Richard, who flew from England to his daughter being convicted, said nothing as he left the court building. Mr. Pajich's mother, Sharon, told reporters she would have to live with a broken heart for the rest of her life. His murderers were disgusting animals and should never be released, she said. She added, "He was my precious little boy, he was my firstborn, he was of life. They deserve everything they get for what they've done. They've taken an innocent boy from his loved ones."